I want to be very careful with the way that I phrase my next question, okay? Because it does kind of come back to that kindness thing. And I just want to ask, if there are cases where animals are deemed unreleasable, there must be. You can't just, if an animal's lost all its limbs, you can't just plop it back into the ocean and hope it survives. But in the less extreme cases, is it more ethical to release animals back into the wild, even if their survival rate is a little bit uncertain? Or is it better to keep them under the human care where their outcomes are controlled? Where would you stand on that? Hello and welcome back to KU Pulse, the podcast from Khalifa University. My name is Jade Sterling. I'm your host for today's episode. The Yas SeaWorld Research and Rescue Centre is the largest dedicated marine research, rescue, rehabilitation and release facility in the region. In 2024 alone, the team rescued over 500 different marine animals. Today, I am joined by Dr. Elise Marquis, who is director of the centre itself, and Dr. Trey Clark, who is director of animal health and welfare. Welcome to KU Pulse, the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Very happy to be here.
To start with, I'd like to just get a bit of an overview of your work. What do you guys do?
All right. Do you want to start, Trey?
Okay.
It might be the easiest.
Yeah. So I'm the director of the animal health, so I'm pretty much the head veterinarian, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had many years of experience with many different taxon and animals. I can give you a little overview of myself. Diplomat of the American College of Zoological Medicine, and we see everything under the sun that comes in the center. So from corals to urchins to dolphins to penguins to everything in between.
Okay, so when we're talking marine life, we're literally talking everything from the smallest to the very biggest.
Everything.
Excellent. And Elise, what do you get up to?
Hi. Well, so my role as a senior director of the center is really to coordinate all the teams and all the activities within the center. So you may know, and we talk about rescue, but it's also research and education. So we have those three programs going on within the center. So that means a lot of different activities, outreach activities, school groups coming in, as well as researchers actually actively studying the seagrass ecosystem or the fish or any other marine ecosystem from the Arabian Gulf. And of course, the rescue team taking care of the animals that we have in-house.
I think the rescue is the kind of exciting thing, and we'll definitely come on to that. But for me, it's the research that I'm interested in. We're at Khalifa University, we're a research institution. What kind of research are you doing? Well, what does that mean?
Well, we do have two active programs right now, but covering a lot of different topics. And actually, we did host almost 10 Khalifa University students this year. So maybe they could talk about what we are doing, and they would all say different things because they were working with different researchers and on different topics. So we cover aquaculture research. Mm-hmm. We are studying ways to improve, to become more sustainable when it comes to farming fish or any marine animals that would be used for the nutrition of the human population. Yeah. Okay. So we know that the wide population of fish may overcome some issues or challenges with overfishing, but still we need to make sure that we have the food security within the UAE with growing population and so on. So we're here to support the growing of the aquaculture industry, but helping overcoming challenges when it comes to, obviously, energy consumption, antibiotic use, or any health issue with the species that we are farming, or being more efficient in general and looking. So that means looking at every aspect of the life cycle of the fish. So it's taking a lot of efforts to go through that. So this is the aquaculture, and then we are looking also at the marine ecology. And again, so all this is really focusing on the Arabian Gulf, of course, because this is where we are, but we also covering the Arabian Sea or the Sea of Oman as well. But so the marine ecology is really looking at those ecosystems that are coping with such harsh environment that we are experiencing here in the Gulf. Very high temperature in the summer, but very low temperature in the winter. And all this bring challenges to all the species, but still we have a lot of species living here. And that's obviously for us scientists is absolutely amazing to see and to understand how do they do. We have so many questions to answer here. I can't even start. So little by little, this is what we are doing. We have a big focus on seagrass because there is absolutely everything to do. And seagrass is vital, such an amazing ecosystem. So we started studying them. And we are also started studying fish. So what makes those fish survive in the Gulf? We're looking at the small fish, not especially the big, colorful fish, but the fish that actually make the ecosystem work.
The little ones that aren't so exciting, but they're actually crucial for keeping things going.
I'm a plankton ecologist myself, so meaning that I love all the things that are not flashy, but so important for the ecosystem. And so this is what the team is doing. We are looking at cuttlefish. We are looking at a lot of other topics, but this is our main focus.
I'm interested to know what the ideal research outcome would be for this, because you mentioned that you're studying the animals that live in the Arabian Gulf. They're enduring all sorts of different hardships, but they're meant to be here. They are evolved to deal with all of this. So what are you hoping to learn from them? Is it in order to help support the aquaculture stuff that you were doing? Or is it more of like a blue sky, we're just interested?
Well, it's a very good question, actually. It's, yes, fundamentally, it's very interesting to understand how those species that are actually the same that are living in the Red Sea or in the Indian Ocean, or even for some in some other part of the world, right? But those same species living elsewhere will never be able to cope with the temperature.
Even though they're the same species? Even
though they are the same species. Okay. Then we go through the, obviously, genetic and phenotype evolution. And obviously there's been a selection. The general biodiversity is less here when compared to the Red Sea, for example. Mm-hmm. But the species that are here are strong. And it might be, again, not the species, but the phenotypes. So this is what we are looking at. And maybe the species are living here, maybe they're okay, but they adapt with other mechanisms that you will not find in a population living elsewhere. So all those things that obviously are fundamentally important to know, because then we can maybe protect them better as well. But also it's important to know for the wild scientific community, the wide scientific community worldwide, because we might find clues to protect the other species elsewhere. Everywhere has that challenge with the warming water, heat waves. Yeah. Warming waters in general and so on. Here, the species are at the edge of their resilience or their capacity. If we go a bit further, most probably it would be very devastating. But we don't know how much and we don't know how and so on. So this is everything.
That is super interesting work, especially given how important it is to consider the fact that climate change is about to change everything from land to sea, the whole ecosystem.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's scary to think about, to be honest. So it's very important work that you're doing. If we come on to the rescue side of things, I would like to ask how the climate change and the way things are changing in our oceans is affecting how many rescues you might have to have. And I'd like to come on to that in a minute. But just to start off with, can you tell us more about what goes on behind the scenes of a rescue? How does a rescue even come about?
So that's a great question. How rescues come about is honestly by people like you, really. People that are walking the beach or in their hotel room or balcony, and they see an injured animal or wildlife that's not being able to do its normal thing. Pretty much, if I can catch you, there's probably something wrong with you, right?
Right.
So people like you will call our hotline, call the EAD, And from there, we'll kind of get that call, and the advent of smartphones and pictures on your phones has been amazing for us because people can take pictures, they can show us what's going on. And from there, we have a team of experts that really know behavior of animals and things like that, and are able to kind of assess, does this animal really need help or is it fine? Because sometimes, animals sunning on the beach is actually perfectly normal, but you just might not know that. So having those experts knowing that in-house has been great. And then from there, if we determine an animal is good to rescue, we have an amazing rescue team that's dedicated just for that purpose. We have several fleets of vehicles, air-conditioned van, because as you know, in the summer it gets really hot, and a whole route, emergency medicines and things like that. We're all prepared to go out and capture that animal safely. If it's deemed that animal needs to come back, usually for medical care, because once again, if I'm able to catch you, something's really wrong, right? And so once they're back at the center, we have an amazing, really purpose-built facility just for rescued animals, which has been really helpful on our end. We don't need to kind of bespoke many things. Well, you always need to do so with the type of animals we do, but the center is really prepared for dealing with all ranges of things, from dolphins to sea turtles to birds to anything. And from there, we have a dedicated veterinary team. So our veterinary team sees the entire collection of the park and then also serves for the rescue. And from there, we can take x-rays, endoscopy, ultrasound, anything that you can do at a normal hospital, we can do. We even have CT, which is actually pretty amazing.
The idea of CT scanning a dolphin is just wild.
I've done it many times. So it's actually pretty neat. There's only a few zoological facilities in the world that have their own in-house CT. So the amount of information that we can gather from that is just, off the scale, just on anatomy, physiology, and things like that. And so from there, we're able to hopefully rehabilitate the animal, get it back on track. And the ultimate goal is release, right? So we wanted to return this animal back to where it's came from. And we also write down GPS coordinates wherever we receive the animal. So we try to release it back into a area that's familiar with, right?
Yeah, you're not going to go and put it back on the beach where you found it. For example, you're going to put it in the waters close by.
That's close by where its natural range is, where it has the best chance of success. So we work closely with the EAD with that. And so they know everything that we're doing. And then also ultimately I give the okay from a veterinary side, and then we get the permission from the EAD, and then off we go. And so it's a really, really cool process. And then on top of that, kind of speaking about the climate change, I'm going to jump to your question. It's really cool that Elise and I are under the same roof, because, we'll see a certain number of species or a certain syndrome maybe that's happening. And with Elise's team, who's doing such great research, we can actually utilize their knowledge of the whole environment and kind of help paint a picture of what's going on here. Because just like Elise said, we don't know a lot about what's going on here, especially from the rescue side. And once again, we all do this as a team. We're working with other entities as well. And so trying to combine those knowledges, and, I'm good at medicine. I don't know half the stuff Elise knows is about, phytoplankton toxins and things like that. She doesn't know likewise for medicine. So the fact that we can combine these really cool disciplines together and paint a much better picture to ultimately help the animal is just, it's a really cool thing to have.
I was going to say about that. Sorry to jump.
So, no, I would just wanted to add to that. Just one amazing thing that we are starting, or really at the start of launching and really become more expert. It's sea snakes. We actually rescue sea snakes, which is an amazing thing. And we see pathologies or some disease that have not been studied yet, or we don't understand where it's coming from and what is causing that. So this is exactly where
the science meets the medicine and everything. Yeah.
The center is a perfect place where everything can happen.
I mean, it sounds like you're getting different pieces of different puzzles together and working out what's actually going on. So that must be quite helpful for you as well in terms of the research side of things. Instead of having to go out and grab an animal and hopefully, put a tracker on it, whatever, to find out where it goes, or get some DNA, whatever you need to do. you have animals in the centre who have come in legitimately, fairly, needing some help. It makes sense for research and rehab to come together.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would also imagine you were mentioning about the different diseases and you're not sure what to expect. Can you not use this kind of data and this information to build some kind of way of predicting if you might get more of these different animals coming in? You mentioned about the sea snakes. If you're getting a bunch in, you might then be able to go, oh, there's something going on in the environment. We should probably prep to get more in later.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly, yes. That for any way we can help predict and then for prevent is amazing, right? And then also, if we can predict, we can also prepare.
Yes.
And so having those different types of aspects kind of correlating to paint that picture from Elise's team and ours is, once again, it's all the ultimate goal is to help the animal, to help the environment, to prevent things like this happening. So having that is a really cool thing. And the sea snakes is one of my favorite. And like Elise said, we are seeing some interesting things and we're quickly finding out that the numbers that we're seeing is unique to a lot of places in the world. Once again, we reach out. This is not just us. We reach out to other entities. We work with other facilities. And, when we say, oh, we see this many, we see that many, we see this many, like, oh, wow, that's more than anyone else has seen. So having that opportunity to really burgeon the research here, really know the knowledge of what's happening in the ecosystem, in this dynamic, really unique ecosystem that Elise was talking about is pretty cool.
You mentioned, sorry again. There's just so much to cover. Please go.
I'm sorry. No, just to comment on that, and this is exactly that. So with the rescue, and when we think about rescue, we should also include all the dead animals that we actually find, and this is a source of data that is absolutely vital for everything we are talking about. And we have the chance to have excellent pathologists in-house who is doing all the post-mortem investigation. So understanding whatever we find a dead turtle on the beach. You may think it's not much, but actually it's very, very important. So we can collect it. And obviously this we in collaboration with EAD, as we said. And then we have a report on and trying to understand what were the causes of death. And then all that, when we start recording all the cases that we can find, obviously we are at the start. We've been open for almost 3 years. So it's really, the list is still maybe not enough to have a proper picture, but in 2-3 years, that will be, and we will be able to say, yes, it's increasing. Yes, this viruses that we find all the time is definitely something that we should look, and so on and so forth. So it's really building up that database coming from all the different angles, and then being able to draw the picture and give that to the government, to EAD, so that they can make
apply
the regulation apply.
You've answered the question that I was going to ask. Okay. Like you said prevention, both of you, but what does that actually look like? And it's giving the data to the authorities.
Exactly.
What they need to do. Excellent. So does that mean then, what are the kind of key metrics that you guys use to measure the impact that you're having? I would possibly say your end goal should be you don't want any animals to come in because you've done such a good job that they don't need any help. But how do we measure getting to that end point?
You want me to go first? Or
go first.
That's a good question. Okay. So you're right. You hit the nail on the head. The best thing is to have no animals in, right? That's you've done your job as a rescue center if you don't rescue anything. That obviously is,
if you don't need
if you don't need to rescue anything, correct. But our end goal is constantly learning. There is never an end goal for us. We want to constantly learn. We want to constantly push the envelope of medicine because, once again, none of these animals have really been studied. And as the disease processes, how to make them better, treatment, all medical procedures are all different. And each little species, I can't treat a bird the same way as I treat a bird, right? So cormorants are different than seagulls, are different than plovers, are different than that. So finding those with that infinite possibility, it's always need to honing in, always need to find what's the best way to rescue something, what's the best way to treat this, what's the best way to do X, Y, and Z. So for my side, that's the metrics, but I'll let Elise go for her side.
Well, it's I guess we didn't touch education as well, awareness. So that's maybe also part of the metrics that we are looking at. We want people to be aware, and we are working and seeing actually that the cases or the calls that we are getting are increasing, but this doesn't mean that there are more animals in need. It just means that we have more people supporting us, being our eyes. So they call us. So we do have the opportunity to respond to those calls, increasing number of calls. So this is not a metric that we should take in consideration, but it's important for us because that means that the community is not involved. And this is the other part of what we're really trying to do. Rescue research, education, awareness, outreach, making people interested in science.
Yes.
Knowledgeable about what they have around us. And not only knowledgeable, but having them connected, understanding the beauty of everything. And again, even the small little fish is important and beautiful when you look at it. So all that, having the kids understanding that everything that we do have an impact on that beautiful nature, and that maybe we may be able to change some of our habits or way of life so that we can protect the environment around us. So yes, that's part also of the metrics. It's not easy to properly put as numbers, but we have numbers of people we can reach. We have actually a science talk. So I don't know if I'm continuing speaking. I'm sorry.
No, go for it, please.
But we do have, we started 2.5 years ago, a science talk series at the center exactly for that. With the hope to bring obviously the community that was already here, naturalists, part of the Emirates Naturalist Story Group that has been there forever, and so those people who are very interested and knowledgeable, and people who are just interested but don't know much.
Your average normal everyday person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we bring them all together and we give them the opportunity to listen to amazing scientists from all over the country, because we do have amazing things going on in terms of science, natural science, natural history, conservation, and so on. For example, tonight we're hosting the MBZ Raptor Conservation Fund, and they're doing amazing job all in the UAE and all around the peninsula and in Asia and so on, to conserve and protect raptor species. The Sooty falcons and the Thacker falcons and so on. So they're coming to speak about their...
Something that you wouldn't expect a marine organization to be interested in.
Of course, but this was the thing, just to bring together and to speak about natural history as a whole. We talk about geology, we talk about, obviously, marine sciences. Dr. Clark was our guest speaker just last month, but every month we have a different topic with people from the UAE, and anyone can come, it's free, and we just speak in science. So this is just giving that to the people so that they can start somehow to be connected and aware.
I think you've really, really condensed it quite nicely. The fact that everything is connected, everything is interconnected, including us with our natural environment, and a little bit of kindness to even the smallest thing goes a long way to protecting an entire ecosystem. I want to be very careful with the way that I phrase my next question, okay? Because it does kind of come back to that kindness thing. And I just want to ask, if there are cases where animals are deemed unreleasable, there must be. You can't just, if an animal's lost all its limbs, you can't just plop it back into the ocean and hope it survives. Is it... But in the less extreme cases, is it more ethical to release animals back into the wild, even if their survival rate is a little bit uncertain, or is it better to keep them under the human care where their outcomes are controlled? Like where would you stand on that?
So for us, we're always the end goal is return. Obviously, it comes to Elise's side where education and, well, it's all of our sides really, but education of the public to protect the environment and whatnot. We always want to create that better environment for that animal. But for us, the end goal is always return. And we deem that we try to give the animals the best shot ever, as much as we can, right? So let's say we get a small little sea turtle in from being what's kind of what we call a cold stun event happening, or cold shock. And so this animal's kind of really small, really weak. We'll keep him in for several months, get him the best food possible, fatten up his reserves. And while he's doing that, he's also growing, right? So as he grows, he's actually growing out of certain predators, ranges, and things like that. And so having that, and then we're putting him back in the environment for its best possible outcome. You know, we can't control everything, but the end goal is ultimately making sure that animal is doing well. And if the case is, there's very rarely an incident where we have to state that an animal is unreleasable, but there are, like you said, there are instances. If there are instances, the veterinarians will make that choice based on a bevy of looking at the animal's natural history, looking at its behavior, looking at what medical issues it is. And we'll take a look at that, kind of put that whole picture together, correlate it, and then we make our decision based off that, right? Once again, I return a lot of different things as much as I can. But when it does come to that, we do make that decision. And then, like say in the US, we have an overseeing body here. It's the EAD. We give that recommendation to the EAD, and they actually kind of choose where that animal is now going to go.
Okay.
And so it's not just us saying, hi, we want an animal, right? It's a total process involving multiple entities. We are not the end say, I just say, okay, as a medical professional, this animal can't be returned.
Yep.
And so once we do deem that, then the animal, let's say it does stay with us, our goal is to give that animal the best care we can, best welfare and everything. And we do achieve that really well, right? With our facilities and our staff, our dedicated staff, they're very knowledgeable. And for that animal, we would definitely give it the best quality of life, knowing that might have some complications or things like that that going through. Once again, if a rescued animal comes to us, especially if it's non-releasable, there's something wrong with it. So it's our job to make sure we provide that best welfare for it.
And if I may add to that, actually, I think I would like to give the example of Malkout. Malkout the dugong, who has been rescued by EAD now 5 years ago. He was a baby dugong, and fed, hand fed by the team and so on, for many months. So Malkout was deemed non-releasable. Is with us at the SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, living his best life.
Living his best life, trust me.
But what is, I guess, what is important, and the example I want to give is that Malkout is helping his wild counterparts by giving us data. Information on his behavior and so on. And actually we had this collaboration just last June with the James Cook University from Australia coming. They have a very, very strong expertise in dugong ecology with Professor Elise Marquis, who is the dugong queen. And so two PhD students actually came here to test and collect data from Malkout that they could not get from the wild. And all the data that they collected here will help them assess the health and the behavior and understanding the behavior and the ecology of the dugong in the wild with remote equipment and so on. So it was testing their hypothesis on Malkout. This would not have been possible without Malkout being here. So you need to look at that kind of aspect as well. It's extremely valuable. Obviously, the ultimate goal is return, but when there is no return, we can learn so much to continue protect the the population.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. And I think that leads us quite nicely into the question of, I mean, resources are always limited. There is only so much money in the world. There is only so much money your research is going to get. There is only so much money you're going to get to do a rescue. How do you prioritize where you focus your research? And how do you prioritize which animals go out? If you can, you will go and get them, obviously, but there must be some kind of prioritization system that helps you determine which ones you go and rescue.
So for prioritization, of course, there's prioritization, but we will never, the end thing is we will never close our doors to anything. It doesn't matter if we have 50, 100, 200, we'll find a way. We'll bring people in we'll close down sections of the park to work on rescued animals.
That's lovely.
So if there's a need, we will grow and expand to meet that need. So we'll never say no to anything. As far as prioritization, every animal is important. I guess it depends on, it'll be a case by case basis, right? So if I know I have a team that's 20 minutes away, we might go grab that one versus 2 hours away, but that's just on distance. But there's no animal too small, no animal too short, no animal too far that will actually go out. We've been almost to the Saudi border to look at dugongs, to rescue flamingos. That there's nothing too small that we won't do or too big that we won't do.
And really to jump on what Troy just said is that we are lucky to have all the support coming from the zoological team from the park. So really, if anything happens, we have a team of
300 to help us with any type of crisis.
People who know how to handle and care for animals. So actually, that's a big strength for us.
I'll give you an example of that. Was it last year for the flamingos? Yeah, last year. February 2024, we had those huge rainstorms, thunderstorms that came by. So we have a local and migrating population of greater flamingos here. And the AD called us, and after that storm came by, the EAD had called us and said that we think there's a lot of injured flamingos out on Awapa. And our team we have flamingos here, and we have teams that have worked on flamingos for over 20 years. And so we were obliged to go out and help them. And what had happened was during that storm, the flamingos in the Awapa Reserve had no cover. And so they just got rolled by the wind, a lot of injured animals. And our team, we brought our bird team that came out from the zoological facility along with our rescue team, our management team all went out there to help these animals. It was massive. I mean, in the end, I think we got over 300 animals. Unfortunately, a lot of them had died, but we were able to get a lot of them alive, and we went through an extensive rehabilitation process. It was even cool. Unfortunately, a lot of them were on nests and eggs were actually almost about to hatch. So we actually had taken eggs from them, and they were hatching on our way back to the park. So we had baby flamingo chicks, and we were able to raise those animals up and really return those. So not only were we able to help the adults out, but we also helped that next generation out. But we had our bird team working with us. We had the research team helping us out. We had our pathologist team working for anything that had happened, because it was an amazing opportunity. Once again, the Dead Do Talk was an amazing opportunity to really dive into issues that are involving this population, which no one's really had a chance to do. The ones
that WASPA, they're migrated, right?
There's both.
Because I was going to ask, how do you must have been under a time crunch then. If they're going to leave, you need to get them back into their flock to get them back out.
There is a local population that kind of stays there. So it was once we made sure animals are around when we were able to release the ones that came through to return. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a really neat experience.
We never thought we would have eggs in the rescue.
Yeah, how often do you get to look at baby flamingos? It's an incredible opportunity.
Really cool. Really cool.
You mentioned that you had to go down to the Saudi border where there's dugongs, and does that mean that you're just kind of focusing by the Saudi border? You're in the waters of the UAE and this area around us, or do you guys go further afield as well?
So we're working, like Elise is working on her collaborations with other universities, and that goes outside the UAE as well. So are we working with government entities and other organizations outside of the UAE as well. Last year, we were able to help the stranding partners in Oman. And actually, they had a large sperm whale that had stranded on a beach near Muscat. And so their team hadn't really worked on sperm whales before. So we were able...
Are they common in those waters?
They're there.
Okay.
They're there, yes.
I thought they were an Arctic kind of cold.
No,
okay, well,
no, they migrate. And I mean, there's blue whales here. There's many different species of mysticetes here. Yeah. And so we were able to, with the permission through the government and their entities there, we were able to go to Oman and actually help them out. We did the full necropsy there. We were able to go to the veterinary school there and help them determine, which tissues are do what do we need to do with this? And from there, we were able to get a really cool picture of a rare sample that doesn't happen, right? So sperm whales don't just show up magically all the time. And once you have that data, we can add to it to kind of learn about what's going on in the population, especially in this area. Still not a lot is not known. And so utilizing that example, we're always open and willing to give our expertise to help, even if it's a phone call, right? It doesn't have to be us physically going over there. I've talked to many people, still that same group in Oman. I've helped them with some sea turtles that they've recently rescued. And hey, what antibiotics do you need to give? What's the best form of treatment for this animal? X, Y, and Z. And so once again, just having that capability of reaching across, using our expertise and learning from them as well. So it's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. And once again, we are always collaborating. We're not just me, SeaWorld. We're working with this together to really help the whole ecosystem.
I guess when it comes to research, we're looking at different aspects here. It's we're not the only research institute working on the marine environment. So we have already a lot of collaboration going on. And the one thing that we do not want to do is duplicate studies that have already been done. So it's really a matter of building up the overall expertise of the UAE on marine sciences rather than just copying things that have already been done, right? So there is that. So and there are so many questions that still remains to be answered. So the question that remains, a lot of them, are actually close to things that we think are critical and very important. And when it comes to seagrass again, this is really one thing that when I joined the center, I knew already that seagrass should be one of the main research priority of the team, because it's an ecosystem that is vital for the marine environment in terms of biodiversity, hotspots, in terms of nursery for a lot of fish species, in terms of all the what we call the blue carbon, capturing the CO2 and keeping it synced into the sediment. In terms of course, all the big species that we care in the rescue, the dugong and the green sea turtle, they feed exclusively on the seagrass. So if we don't have the seagrass, we do not have dugong. So it's part of what we were talking about earlier. It's like, of course, to make sure that we do not need to rescue any more dugongs, we need to make sure that the seagrass is healthy, and so on. And seagrass is also a priority topic for the EAD and for the ministry. So knowing all that, it makes sense to have a strong expertise, and we are very lucky to have a very strong team, and Dr. Hung Nguyen, who joined the team last year, is absolutely amazing in leading that research program. In terms of aquaculture, same again, we are working with the government and with the different entities and the farm to understand their bottlenecks and their challenges. So this is what makes our priority and all the food safety and circular economy. We're looking at using waste coming from other industries, such as dead farming, for example, to be able to use it in the aquaculture setup. This is things that are in development that are all beneficial for the overall country's vision, and definitely will level up the expertise, overall expertise.
I love that. I mean, it's the way forward. And I think that we ought to close out on the question of how we get the future of these researchers involved and interested in the work that you guys are doing and in going into ecosystem preservation itself. Like how can university students who might be passionate about marine life get involved with the Research and Rehabilitation Centre?
Well, as I said, we are here as well. So education awareness, outreach, it's part of our really strong pillar. And part of that, it's the growing, the nurturing of the next generation. I don't want to be where I am in the next, I don't know, 5 whatever years. I want a young student coming from a local university to replace me because of the expertise that she or he will have gained. In our facility or elsewhere, but because he or she is passionate with what we are doing. So it's why we are really welcoming students to come spend time with us, and hands-on science, hands-on animal care, and so on. And then hopefully, my hope is to. Right now, we do have graduate students, bachelor students. We do hope to have the next postgraduate, master, and PhD, and ready to grow like this. But we have space and we have the hope to really be the place where they can pursue their studies and grow as scientists, conservationists, and passionate after all of their own environment.
I think she answered before me. I mean, it's all about, we're always looking forward to educating. We give talks, participating in Elise's science talks, a lot of us go to conferences and are teaching medicine, and we too are developing our internship program. It's more vet related. So we're looking at people within the veterinary field last year in their veterinary school or internships or things like that where they have experience. So you have to be, for our program, you have to be a little bit further on your way just because we're running. We are, you got to know how to treat a dog and a cat before you can treat a dolphin, right? So, we're a little bit more specialized in our education, but we still are happy and talk to quite often a lot of the students that Elise brings through her program, and happy to have them shadow and things like that. But ours is a little bit more, like I said, a little bit more niche, but yeah, it's all about education and getting the future going. That's how we got here. Someone told us this was cool and we fell in love with it from an early age. And, with our hands alone, we've saved and helped thousands of animals and ecosystems alike. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming in, Dr. Elise Marquis and Dr. Trey Clark. You were so insightful, and I'm going to have so much more respect for the seagrass now. It's not just,
You should.
If you enjoyed that conversation and you'd like to learn more about our STEM projects here at Khalifa University and further afield, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.